Greetings and welcome to Patent Insider Secrets, where we save you from IP disaster. This is the podcast where we dive deep into the hidden world of intellectual property with captivating stories and expert insights. I'm your host, Tariq Najila, federally registered patent agent, veteran USPTO patent examiner, startup IP mentor, and IP strategist. In this episode, we explore Pillar 2, IP asset development and IP asset fortification. Today's lesson is crucial for anyone working on groundbreaking ideas. It's not enough to simply create. You have to protect and fortify your IP from day one. So let's take a look at this story. This happened again early in my practice, year 2 or 3. I'm going to take you back to this conversation I had not too long ago with a bright young woman. Let's call her Sarah. Sarah had just graduated from a prestigious PhD program. She was excited and ready to take her research to the next level. She chose her university specifically to work with a certain professor whose work aligned perfectly with her ambitions. But just as her journey began, life threw her a curveball. That professor left the university and went to a new opportunity. She recounted the story like this. Professor, I came to this university specifically to work with you. Now you're leaving? What am I supposed to do? My research can't just stop. I understand your frustration, Sarah. This wasn't something I planned. But opportunities come up, once in a lifetime opportunities. I wish I could continue supporting you, but the best I can offer is to put in a good word for you with another professor. You'll be fine, trust me. You've got the talent and the drive to make it work. So now suddenly Sarah found herself adrift. No funding, no key advisor, and no clear path forward. But she wasn't one to sit back and wait for things to happen. She got to work. She hustled. She found another professor willing to back her, but this time she'd have to secure her own funding. Determined, Sarah reached out to a large company in her field. And after some back and forth, they agreed to collaborate on a small project. She absolutely crushed it. And the company was so impressed that they funded her entire research project for the remainder of her program. And here's where things get interesting. Her research led to not one, but 2 patents being filed by the university. So now let's jump to Sarah's conversation with the company. Thank you so much for funding my research. I really believe this is just the beginning. I've got a lot of ideas we could explore. We're impressed, Sarah. In fact, the work you've done is exactly what we're looking for. We'd like to offer you a full-time position after you graduate, 6 figures, full benefits, the works. You can continue leading this research commercially with us. We see really big things for you in your future. Wow, this is amazing. I can't believe it. This is exactly what I was hoping for. But this is where things take an unexpected turn. The university stepped in with a different plan. I imagine the conversation with the university had been like this. Sarah, we've been reviewing the patents filed on your research. And as per university policy, we actually own the intellectual property. Any commercial venture stemming from this work has to go through us. What do you mean? This was my idea, my research. The company wants to hire me to continue the work. In fact, they just gave me an offer. We understand that. However, patents do belong to the university. You just graduated, so the best way we can offer to support you at this stage, now that you're no longer with the university, is for the company to continue funding the research here. You could remain with the university as a postdoc under the supervision of your professor, of course. A postdoc? It's nowhere near the offer they gave me. They're talking about at least 6 figures. What's a postdoc? $30,000, $40,000? And they want me to lead the research, not a professor. Unfortunately, that's not the option. You knew when you joined the university, anything that you came up with was property owned by the university. We didn't have any other agreements in place. We talked to the legal department, and unfortunately, that's not an option. The IP belongs to the university, and if you want to continue to work with it, you have to do it under our terms. As you can imagine, Sarah was devastated. And again, she didn't call me yet, but this is the story before she calls it. So Sarah's devastated. After all, so all her idea, all her hustle, her creativity, her hard work, how could they take that away from her? And trust me, it got worse. The company called. Sarah, we just spoke with the university administrators. I know that we gave you that offer, but they're insisting that any work moving forward needs to be done under their control. They're threatening litigation if we don't comply. And as you know, we really want you to lead this project, but it looks like the best way we can do that is to continue funding it at the university level. And you'd have to be a postdoc. Can't believe this. This is supposed to be my big break. What about the offer? We're sorry, Sarah. Our hands are tired. As I said, they threaten us with litigation. And the reality is the university owns the patents, and we have to follow their guidelines. So this is when Sarah called me. She gave me the whole story. She recounted everything. I said, Free, do they really own it? Is there anything I can do? And really, that's where the lesson came in. You see, Sarah's situation could have been totally avoided if she had fortified her IP assets at the start. And I know you're asking, is that even possible? I mean, she's a student. If you are a student, if you work for a company, I mean, by being an employee, by being a student, don't we sign on to the rules that say, hey, everything that I do with university or company property on their devices, anything I create, anything I come up with, it's all owned by them, right? Well, technically, yes. But even still, you still have to have the mindset on how to protect it in the beginning. That makes no sense. I mean, if you're telling me this, you just said she's a student. I mean, being a student, you don't have a choice. Just like if I work for my company, I call it Little Idea, the company owns it. I can have my name on all the patents I want, but I mean, it's not mine. Maybe I'll get a bonus or promotion, but I mean, how the heck do I do that? And you are correct. But like I said today, it's all about contrast. I'm going to give you another story about two students in the very same situation as Sarah, but who took a different approach and were able to negotiate something really better. And trust me, all of us are benefiting from it today. So let's look at this famous story. And this is probably one you probably heard. The students we're going to talk about is Larry and Sergey. Now, these were graduate students at Stanford University. And yes, they did create the search engine that would become Google. So like Sarah, they were working on groundbreaking research while still in school. But unlike Sarah, Larry and Sergey took the crucial step of securing their IP early on. They actually worked with Stanford to negotiate ownership in terms before things took off. And as a result, they maintained significant control over their invention while leveraging the university's resources in the beginning, and were able to bring us Google and Android, all that we love and know today. So let's look at how this went down. Now again, like Sarah, Larry and Sergey were grad students. Unlike Sarah, they were prepared. They actually knew Pillar One. They had an IP asset mindset. They knew the value of their idea. In fact, you know, the story goes that Larry was working on something that was going to break the internet. You know, back in the day, there was no Google, so you had different web browsers. You had Alta Vista, you had Ask Jeeves, Metacrawler, Yahoo, and every search engine gave you 50 different results. And so what Larry came up with was he came up with a way to rank pages in importance based on links back to those pages or backlinks. So it was basically mapping the internet and prioritizing pages based on how many pages link back to that page. So he just developed this thing called PageRank. And his name is Larry Page. It was not just web page, but also his name. PageRank. It was an algorithm. Now, Sergey was a new grad student, and Sergey was a data scientist. He was a data scientist, and he was into analytics, and a buddy that knew Larry, but didn't know, knew, and also Sergey. Hey, Sergey, you should meet this guy named Larry. He's working on something I think, your research would go hand in hand with his. So they came together and it did an optimize on a level that really worked. and they tested out their algorithms on Stanford servers. And PageRank was born, and Google was founded in 1998. Now, I can imagine, I don't know, but I imagine a conversation between Larry and Sergey went something like this. Hey, Serge, sorry, I imagine you call him Serge or whatever, I don't know. Well, let's say, Serge, we need to make sure that what we're building here is ours. We can't ignore Stanford's role in it, but we need to come at this up front because we really could have something big here. This could be the next Yahoo, who knows? Sergey is like, hey, exactly. We're using the resources that I know, we signed, but, we're using their labs, their resources, their computing infrastructure, but let's talk to the university and see how we can structure a deal that benefits everyone. They have an entrepreneurship department here, a venture firm. I'm sure we can work out something that will give us opportunity to see if this is going to be big. So they have that meeting room with Stanford's representative at the venture, said, hey, we've been working on this thing. We really getting a lot of traffic. We're really shutting down Stanford servers. We're getting so much traffic. We think this has commercial appeal. I know you guys have been working on this search engine project. So what do you envision for the future? We really believe we could revolutionize how people use their internet. We really believe this could revolutionize how people use the internet. But to make it a reality, we need to make sure that we secure the IP and control how it's developed. And I know that we're locked in we filed a patent, it's through Stanford. But we want to kind of negotiate ownership of the patents related to the project. Interesting. Typically the university, retains IP rights, but for certain ventures, we can negotiate some things. Yeah, we're not asking for everything. We want to make sure Stanford benefits as well, but what if we negotiate a deal where Stanford gets presented the profits and we generate, from the patents or even stock in the company we build? Okay, well, let's look at that model. We're really proposing a partnership where Stanford has a stake in the success of the business you're creating. And it's a compelling offer. We have a kind of set way we look at royalties and stock, but we also require a buyout. So to buy out of the standard agreement, we probably need something like at least like $50,000. 50,000. Yeah, I'm sure we can. Well, yeah, I know this sounds like a lot of money, but I'm sure we have some venture partners, some funders that may be willing to, some angel investors may be able to some other graduates or alumni. There are successful companies that would look to invest. So here's a list of numbers. But trust me, this shouldn't be hard for you guys. If it's doing what you say it is, I think you shouldn't have a problem. Okay. All right. We'll look at the 50 grand. I think we can work on that. And then we can you also need to work with your own attorney, and make sure that these things are fair. But again, these are standard terms and you can take a look at it. All right, gentlemen. I think we have a deal. Let's get the lawyers to draw up the paperwork. Yeah, who knows that, handshake, who knows how that really went. The reality is you look at the documents, there was a $50,000 initial payout that Larry and Sergey made. They doubted Alphabet Inc. Alphabet Inc. was the agreed share, one of their partnership with Stanford University. And then the company they created was Google, one of Alphabet's companies, and that housed a search engine. So years later, when Google went public and became one of the largest companies in the world, Stanford's equity stake paid off in a big way. The university made a huge profit, talking about hundreds of millions of dollars from the stock they held in the company. And everybody benefited from that early negotiation. This is a report. This is like around COVID numbers, but it's saying Larry Page net worth is over $111 billion. Sergey's net worth is over $107 billion. And heard his numbers, could have gone up even more. So let's take a look. What's one thing we noticed? By securing their IP rights upfront and involving Stanford as a partner, Larry and Sergey were able to maintain control of their vision while Stanford profited significantly from the relationship. The difference between Sarah's situation and that of the Googlers comes down to one key element. The Googlers understood that IP is an asset. In fact, I'll say both of them understood IP was an asset, but only one of them fortified it early enough to control their future. By securing their IP rights in the front end, they were able to turn their idea into one of the most valuable companies in history. They didn't just develop their IP, they fortified it, and they made sure it was an asset they could leverage and control. So what's the key takeaway here? In both stories, we see talented individuals with incredible ideas, but only one fortified their IP. So it's not just enough to have the IP asset mindset. You have to fortify it. In fact, Larry and Sergey understood that IP is more than just an idea. It's an asset that has to be protected. When you develop intellectual property, it's critical to think about ownership, contracts, your rights. You got to do this from day one. Because the moment you step into the world of innovation without a fortified IP asset, or even a fortified IP strategy, you'll risk losing control over everything you worked so hard to create. Had Sarah been proactive about securing her IP and negotiating with the university before starting the project, she could have retained control over her patents, her research, and her career. She could have walked into that six-figure job backed by a fortified IP portfolio. That's why Pillar 2, IP asset development and fortification, is so critical. It's not just about creating something brilliant. It's about ensuring that what you create remains yours. In our next episode, we're going to dive into Pillar 3, IP enforcement and defense. I'll share a story of a small business owner who had her design stolen and how she fought back in court. It's a story you don't want to miss. And the lessons could be the difference between protecting your livelihood or losing it all. That's it. Thank you for tuning in to Patent Insider Secrets. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to just like, subscribe, and leave a review. Remember, your ideas are your most valuable asset. Develop them, fortify them, and protect them. I'm your host, Tariq Najila. We'll see you next time with Patent Insider Secrets.